3, 2, 1, go!
Way to go, kid.
1 second, I'm having the time of my life. The next thing I know, my game is just
Kid!
gone.
I'm gonna wreck it! I'm gonna wreck it! I'm gonna wreck it! I'm gonna wreck it! I'm gonna wreck it!
I want this to be my life. I don't think I could ever tell Ralph.
There's no law saying best friends have to have the same dreams.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you.
I am a fan of the first Wreck-It Ralph movie. I love that movie. That movie is near and dear to my heart. It made me cry, and it is a rare thing when a movie makes me cry. Vanellope, who is voiced by Sarah Silverman, is a girl who wants to have a little bit of danger in her life. She is tired of doing the same thing every day. She loves what she's doing, but she just wished that there was just a little bit of spice that entered into her life.
It was not what I wanted!
So on that note, Ralph, who is voiced by John C. Reilly, decides to take matters into his own hands when he creates a cheating lane for Vanellope to give her that extra bit of spice that she wants in her life. However, doing this causes a customer who is playing the game at the time when Vanellope goes on her new track. Vanellope's freaking out and having a good time while the customer is thinking it's a glitch and this game is going haywire. The customer accidentally breaks the controller to the game, and then so the owner is like, well, you know, arcades are going out of business, no one cares anymore, and to get this retro controller for this old arcade game that nobody plays anymore is too expensive, so we're just going to have to do what the characters in the first Wreck-It Ralph movie were afraid of.
Time to spread the word. And the word is panic.
Oh no, I'm freaking out hard.
In fear of having her game shut down, Ralph and Vanellope decide to enter this thing called Wi-Fi. Entering Wi-Fi, the internet links and they get a connection and they are transported to the internet. The way the internet was depicted in this movie is spot on. When I go on the internet all the time, I don't know about you, but when I go on the internet all the time, there's always these things that pop up. There's so much to do left and right. It's a crazy place. Ralph and Vanellope meet a few interesting people along the way, and on the course of their journey, they go into eBay and they find the wheel that they need to fix Vanellope's video game, but they need a crap ton of money to get it. So in that case, they come across a pop-up who is telling them that if you go into these video games and grab these items and bring them back to me, then I will give you money so that you can buy your controller. Moving on in the story, Ralph and Vanellope come across Shank, who is voiced by Gal Gadot, and this video game felt like Saints Row. We get some action in here that reminded me of Ready Player One by Steven Spielberg, and this was more exciting than that movie because I feel that all of the nostalgia pieces that enter the story in this movie are necessary because they're used to develop the story. And yes, you do see some side characters in here that have nothing to do with the plot, like Sonic the Hedgehog, but that kind of stuff, they don't really have anything to do with the movie. Like you see the Disney princesses in here, and that is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is when Vanellope is having a conversation with the Disney princesses. I love that scene when they're just having their princess sleepover. It is actually funny and entertaining and enjoyable. Vanellope and Shank become best friends because Vanellope feels that the world that Shank lives in is the thrill that she has been seeking. It's the salt that she has been wanting to enter her life. It's the spice that she has wanted to enter her life.
Excellent.
So when getting the car isn't enough money to get the controller that they need to fix Vanellope's video game, Ralph decides to go to great lengths in order to get that controller for his best friend. What he decides to do is create a whole bunch of videos embarrassing himself, doing random crap that people find funny when people are at work and they just have a boring day and they want to laugh at something. He does that kind of stuff, and those videos are actually funny. They did make me laugh. Ralph collects all of the money that he needs, and he is ready to get the controller and put Vanellope back in her video game, and all is good with the world. But Ralph learns that Vanellope is friends with Shank, and Vanellope wants to stay in Shank's Saints Row version of a video game, and then Ralph is against that, so then he decides to sabotage what Vanellope is doing, and in the process, he glitches the Saints Row video game for a moment, and then this like Terminator scenario enters the movie with this virus that comes in and says this program. Then he starts zapping everybody, and that's when all of these evil versions of Ralph come out and they start attacking Vanellope, and it was very scary. It felt like Night of the Living Dead. You can look at Vanellope and Ralph's relationship as maybe a relationship between father and child, or you can look at it as what it is portrayed as in the movie, a friendship. But you can also look at it as a marriage as well. Whatever you see is what you see, because it deals with people's insecurities, and it says that we should not be so needy all the time, and we need to recognize that we should not bring our friends down due to our selfish nature. Yes, we may need and constantly want to be with someone all the time, but then in that case, we might be sabotaging that person's life because we're so clingy to them, and then they love us, so then they don't want to lash out. But then when they realize that, the insecure person is sabotaging their existence, then the person who's feeling like they're being sabotaged will look at you and say, you're very clingy, you need to stop holding on to me. So I feel like there is definitely an adult lesson to be learned here. There are a lot of adult themes in this movie, and that's why I love Ralph Breaks the Internet. Overall, I will say that Ralph Breaks the Internet is a good movie because it is an animated movie that has real content in it. It has content that is catered not only towards children, but towards adults as well. There's something to be learned here. There's lots of fun, entertainment, escapism. There's lots of pop culture references in here. There's lots of nostalgia that is integrated into the story, and when it's not, it is fun, but it doesn't distract the viewer from the main plot because there's so much going on here, but I could follow it easily. It was easy to follow, even though we're jumping from one place to the other. I felt felt the relationship between Ralph and Vanellope in this movie. I don't feel like it's as strong as the first movie. There was one section in here where I felt like they were going to copy the ending from the first movie, but then they didn't. They kind of veered off and did some King Kong thing with a bunch of Ralphs, and it was scary. It was kind of gross, and it kind of reminded me of the Nightmare Before Christmas movie with that ghost who had all those bugs on him. It just felt kind of weird and gross and sick, and it was like King Kong, and it was great. But only negative thing I can say about the message in here is that mostly Ralph and Vanellope were very selfish characters. They're very self-centered. Like, we see Vanellope in her racing game mocking, her colleagues and saying, I'm going to win and all this stuff. So you could say that's putting a message inside your kid's head saying, yeah, you need to be selfish and you need to be greedy and you need to win and be number one and all this stuff. And then, like, Vanellope didn't really learn a lesson at the end of the movie about what she was doing and how it was affecting everyone around her. Ralph learns a lesson, obviously, because he's Ralph and he always wrecks stuff. You expect that from him. He's just trying to help, but then he learns that he has these insecurities and he needs to stop being so clingy to Vanellope. So then he learns his lesson, which is good. But I just felt like Vanellope had a lesson to learn too, of not being so selfish, because then there is a point in the movie where when Ralph tries to sabotage what Vanellope is doing when she wants to go to the Saints Row video game thing, Ralph is like, well, what about the girls in your video game? And then she's like, well, they won't worry about me and whatnot. And I was like, well, that's kind of selfish. But then when you think about it, Fix It Felix and the woman that he's with, I forgot her name, but those two had a really funny scene in the movie when they adopted like 15 kids, and it's really funny in the movie. I loved it, and I wish there were moments in the movie where we did go back to see what they were doing, because there was a moment where I was like, okay, we're spending too much time in the internet with Ralph and Vanellope. I want to see what's going on with the 15 children. But then they kind of like brush it up in the movie at the beginning where he like gets 15 children and he's all enthusiastic about it. And then he sees them wrecking havoc, and then he goes to the bar and drinks, and it's really it's adult content. And that's what I like about this movie. But I just wish Vanellope had learned a lesson, and I don't think she did. So I think it's kind of one-sided here, but I had fun with this movie. It was entertaining, and it got a good message in here, even though the characters felt a little selfish to me at times. But good message, great story, entertaining, fun, action-packed. It was great. When it ended, I was kind of disappointed. So I was like, this movie is good. I give it like an A-. But then there's a mid-credit scene in here, and it's great. It's great, and it's like, they kind of do this thing where it's like, okay, after you see the movie, your kid's in the back seat and they're playing this game that's really popular, and then the bunny explodes and all that, and the kid screams, and that's really funny to me. So I was like, thank you for that. I give you a solid A instead of an A-. This movie, it's good. It's really good. But the thing that took it over the moon for me was the very end of this movie, the very end credit. There are two credit scenes. There's a mid-credit scene, and then there's an end-credit scene in here, and the end-credit scene is absolutely fantastic. Being Rickrolled by Wreck-It Ralph. Yes, it is a nice end-credit scene, and it ties into the movie with the videos that he was doing with the burnt pies and the goat laugh and all that stuff. And so that took it over the moon for me, and so I look at that as the official ending, and I felt so many different emotions with this movie. It didn't make me cry. Didn't do that. My eyes did get watery, but you don't get a full tear. So I don't think it's as good as the first movie, sadly, but it is a great movie on its own. You don't need to watch the first movie to know what's going on in here, because I didn't watch Wreck-It Ralph 1 prior to watching this, even though I did enjoy that movie in 2012 when it first came out. And when I watch it every time, it hits me and makes me cry. But Ralph Breaks the Internet, great on its own, great end credit sequences, great movie, entertaining, all-around roller coaster ride that is fantastic for children and adults. I highly recommend it. It's my favorite movie of 2018. Ralph Breaks the Internet. Great movie, fun. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. Check out the first Wreck-It Ralph movie if you haven't. And overall verdict of this movie, I give it a freaking solid A. This movie is great. Best movie of 2018, and that's all I have to say. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time.